Hey guys, what's up? This is the first installment of Forex trading analysis, and today we're going to be looking at three different currency pairs. But before we get started, I just want to give you this quick risk disclaimer. Foreign exchange carries a high level of risk. Before you decide to put in your money into this, we recognize you consider your investment objectives, your risk tolerance, and trading experience. It's possible to lose all of your initial investment. Don't invest your money that you can't afford to lose, and also realize that this video is almost solely for educational purposes, and it shouldn't be construed as trading advice. So, just a little bit about myself, how I like to trade. I like to keep my charts extremely simple. As you can see, I have a very plain display. I like to look at the 200 and 100 moving average, just because these are levels that a lot of people are looking at, both large and small traders, and it helps me decide my bias, and it does it in a way that keeps me on a trend and lets me stay there for a while, because that's where the most of the profit is. And when I go to trade, when I sit down on a trading platform, the things that I like to look at are the closing prices. I believe that closing prices are the most important thing in a candlestick. I think a lot of times people get caught up with the highs and the lows of a bar, and the highs and the lows in a trend. And I think that if you start to look in the middle of trends, you'll start to see better profits in your trading. So when I sit down, I see prices closing higher than previous highs, and I like to see lows closing lower than lows, and to me that establishes a trend, and that helps me decide my bias. So immediately when I sit down, I like to take a look at the dailies. I like to decide where I see the bias, where I see it going, where it's been, and where I think people are going to push it in the future. So after I'm done looking at the daily, we've seen that we've been in a pretty steady uptrend for about 2 months, and recently we've started a about 300 pip range, and this is a normal range for the daily charts. It's not too big, not too small, but we see a definite amount of indecision here. And so I think in the next couple weeks or so, the big money is going to start to push this one way or another. They're not making money in here, and they need to be moving forward. So people are going to start buying or selling this in large amounts, and we're going to see a pretty big push to the upside or downside most likely here in the future. So one thing I'll be looking for, just in terms of this week, is we have a couple big pound news breaks, just in terms of fundamentals. We have the CPI coming out at 5:30 a.m. This is all Eastern time. We have the a meeting minutes, MPC, and public sector net borrowing, as well as a lot of dollar announcements too. So this is going to be a big 2 days for most markets, and most specifically the pound. So this is mostly what I'll be trading this week. So when I'm looking at this chart, I see prices that have been closing higher for about a week now. I see investors moving this pair toward the upside. I see big bars pushing up and small corrections, which to me indicates that buyers are in control of this pair right now. I see about the 1.58 level being pretty huge here for most people, based on the fact that, first of all, if you look at the daily, it's below or just above the 200-day moving average, which is a pretty huge level that people will be looking at. And we see the 100 and 200, first of all, crossing, sloping to the upside, and average price is definitely geared towards going up. So levels that I'll be looking to define my risk are definitely the 38.2 retracement of the most recent push up, and I'll definitely be looking at the 52, just based on the fact that it's below the 200 moving average. And the way that I see the bias right now is I see I see investors pushing this pair up. I think that we'll see some good news out of the pound, and I think that we can see a nice second wave here from this push back in January. So, in terms of targets, right now I'll be looking, to be honest with you guys, whoops, sorry, my 100's gone for this one. No, I'll bring it back. To be honest with you guys, I like to set my targets very vaguely. I like to set targets based on when I start seeing prices close lower. I like to see prices keep pushing up. And so once prices start to close lower, I'll be making these videos every day. So once prices do start to close lower, if it does happen, then I'll definitely be updating you about that. But for now, I see this pair moving possibly 200 pips max to about the 6.15 level. I think a nice second wave should be in the making here, and as you can see, the 100 moving average is starting to slope up, and we should see some buyers start to re-enter the market here after this most recent wave up. So in terms of other pairs, I always love to look at the euro. Seems everybody does these days, but I think that it's driving the market, so I like to make sure that the euro is in cooperation before I make any decisions on the other pairs. So also here you see the euro making a pretty steady up push in the last few days. We've had some people take this on as a move down, as just a correction, and buyers are starting to enter the market. I had the commitment of traders chart open, but I don't right now. But if you look at the commitment of traders, it's pretty net short, and it has been for a while. So I start back in January, we started to see some short covering pushes to the upside. There's huge money all in here, and as the situation starts to get better, they're slowly starting to short cover, and they're starting to push this pair back upwards. So I think that bullish euro for me is definitely a possibility in the future. And again, here with the euro and the 1 hour charts, we're starting to see the 100 moving average push to the upside. 200 is also sloping up as well, and we're just in the beginning of that. So this for me is a pretty good setup. Again, we see consolidation here, and we see buyers to be pretty prevalent in this market. We see fast push-ups and low corrections down. So I see buyers still being very much in control, and there's nothing on this chart that would make me believe that to cancel out my pound trade. So the other pair that I want to take a look at is the New Zealand dollar, which again seems to be in a pretty range-bound scenario here. If we're looking at the daily, we see some indecisiveness here, and we see a failure from sellers to push this down past the 200 and 100 moving average, and I see buyers starting to push this back up. This level is huge for me. Close is at 0.82377, and we closed above that on, I guess it was Friday, or on Sunday. So this is big money starting to push this higher, and I think that we could start to see a pretty big push to the upside from this as well in the near future. As you can see, again, like I said, I love to look at slopes, and this is starting to push upwards. 100 and 200 are great levels to define your risk, as well as Fibonacci's here. So again, the 38.2 is going to be pretty big for me. 0.82 is going to be a big level, both psychologically and technically. So I think we could see pretty nice push to the upside from the New Zealand dollar here. And by the way, when I'm saying I'm using these levels to define my risk, I mean that if we're starting to close below the 38.2, if we're closing below the 38.2, the 200 and the 100, then that will certainly switch my bias, and I'll close out all my trades if we're closing below these levels. So those are the three pairs that I see moving in the near future. I think that we could see some pretty good movement from all these three, and yeah, I hope you have a good time trading this week. Keep working hard, and I'm gonna keep doing these videos. And thank you very much for watching. See you later.